Good morning. Thank you for joining us on the debate show. I'm your host, Brian Arndt. Of course, in the top corner there is James Martin. And on the other side, welcome back, Jack Hirsch. Great to
I've
have
only
you
been
back.
gone 1 week. Come on, and I'm being welcomed back.
And it's one week that we missed you, man. Come on. You can't be missed. Be missed.
Oh, curmudgeon.
Haven't lost any of the crankiness. I like that new intro. I mean, it just came in. It's like we're in the silent movie era.
I guess. Yeah.
I actually like it. I like it. Yeah, seeing Jack and not hearing his voice at the same time is definitely a music to my ears.
So we have a pretty good debate table set up. Basically, we're going to start off with the NBA because it seems like that's where we want to go with debates. By the way, I don't. I'll let this be known next show. But anyway, of all the current, let me put this up here. Of all the current NBA players, which one who is anticipated to be in a Hall of Fame someday is the most overrated projected Hall of Fame inductee?
Yeah, I'll start off. I mean, I'm not like James who goes to all the analytics. He's going to go to all the stats. He's going to point this out. He's going to point that out. I'm a naked eye guy. A naked eye guy. I know what I've seen over the years. I know who I've seen on the court, what he's done. I know the way some of these guys operate. I don't have to go into analytics. Now, James is going to throw some analytics at me maybe after this. I mean, that's what I anticipate. But the most overrated future Hall of Fame, a guy who's playing in the NBA today. Let's get the question clear. He's a player in the NBA today, but we know he's going to be a Hall of Famer. I mean, for sure. And the guy who I say is the most overrated by far is Chris Paul. I mean, I see this list of all the top point guards of all time, Chris Paul. What the heck has Chris Paul done? He hasn't been a difference maker. I've seen the other great point guards. They've been difference makers. The Magic Johnsons, the Isaiah Thomases, even the John Stocktons, whose Utah Jazz would have won 1 or 2 NBA titles if it wasn't for Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. Sometimes the obstacles get in your way. You can't be a bottom line guy because circumstances prevent you from getting sometimes to where you think you should go or where you could have gone under other conditions. But let's look at Chris Paul. He was with one of the most talented teams during his era, the LA Clippers. I mean, the team couldn't get to the finals. I mean, they always got eliminated. Chris Paul goes to the Houston Rockets. He rejoins James Harden there. They don't go anywhere. Everywhere he goes, I mean, Chris Paul, he goes here, he goes there, he goes everywhere. Now he's back with the Clippers. I mean, he's back where he started. Clippers aren't going to the NBA Finals. I mean, he hasn't made a huge difference anywhere he's been, but he's put up numbers. He's created a lot of goodwill around the league. There's a good feeling, oh, Chris Paul is a wonderful player, this and that. He's not a difference maker. He's not an impact player, Chris Paul. Just look at what all the teams he's been on has done. He goes to the Phoenix Suns. They're up 2-0 against the Bucks in the finals, and they collapsed the 4 games. He's not a difference maker. Chris Paul, does he deserve to be in the Hall of Fame? That's debatable. Okay. You could say he deserves to be a Hall of Famer, but far and away, he's the most overrated future Hall of Famer, who's in the NBA today.
What? Chris Paul? That's what you came up with was Chris Paul? And then I gotta hit you, Jack. I gotta hit you. You came out in the beginning that Chris Paul is overrated, that he can't be compared to the likes of Magic Johnson, John Stockton. You see who those guys play with? You see who they play with? The teammates that they had around them? And you're going to tell me that Blake Griffin is comparable to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Karl Malone? There's no way. No way in comparison I would give him. If you give Chris Paul a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, if you give him a Karl Malone, I mean, Chris Paul is one of the best point guards that's ever played. And I get it. He hadn't won a championship and he's had some failed moments. But man, he as far as what a true point guard is supposed to do, he exemplified that. He assists, he handled the business. I mean, John Stockton, he played defense on the other end as well. And he led the I don't know if he led the league in steals, but he was up there in steals as well. Chris Paul is definitely not overrated at all. That's not who I would choose as overrated. Who I would choose, there's several players. I could agree to some degree that, again, he didn't meet expectations. I'm going to hold him culpable for that. He didn't get the championship done. He had some really good teams with the Clippers, and he's been on some other teams where they didn't get it done. But with that said, there's some other players out here that are far worse than Chris Paul. I mean, we can talk about Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal was out there with Washington. So
he's not a future Hall of Famer, Bradley Beal. We're talking about a guy who's going to be.
You said it's debatable about Chris Paul. You're not even saying you're not sure if he's a future Hall of Famer.
Chris Paul will get inducted into the Hall of Fame. We know the voters are going to vote him in. Don't tell Bradley Beal who.
That's not who I'm picking. That's not who I'm picking. That's not who I'm picking as my. Welcome back, Jack. I'm glad you're back. That's not who I'm picking as my overrated player. I'm just giving you some names out there. There's definitely a Hall of Famer. Draymond Green could be one. He could be considered as one. I'm not picking Draymond Green as well. Who I'm going to pick is a player I think that's very obviously overrated. Has been highly touted on his teams and played several different teams. Had some great teams and never got it done, and had some weak moments in the playoffs. And that player is Paul George. I'm definitely picking Paul George. I think he's going to be a Hall of Famer someday, but he is definitely overrated. He's had some great teams with Indianapolis. I'll give him a little bit of a pass during that era because he was in the LeBron James era where they could get past LeBron. LeBron and either Cleveland and Miami just was in their way. But after that, he went to the Clippers as well. He and Kawhi Leonard teamed up. Before that, he went to Oklahoma, where I think he averaged his highest. And you're right about analytics with me. I'm going to give you the points. He definitely averaged 28 points a game when he was in Oklahoma, but then went and played really well. But then when it came in moments, like you said to the naked eye, when it came in those big moments in the playoffs, he fell short. He fell short. And of course, which probably not his fault, which is not his fault, injury. He's definitely injury prone, and he definitely does not, but the best ability is availability. And so as far as him being a player and top, every time he's a free agent or he gets traded, everybody thinks they're going to do something better. He went to Philly, and they fell through. So my player, I would say, will be Paul George, but he's definitely going to be a Hall of Famer.
Paul George is a good choice. However, people don't rate Paul George as an all-time great player at his position, even though he's an anticipated Hall of Famer. He's probably going to make the Hall someday. But Chris Paul is regarded as an all-time great point guard, maybe the fifth best of all time, for example. I'm just approximating. And he's nowhere near that. He's vastly overrated in that sense. Is he a heck of a player, Chris Paul? Yeah, he's really good. Any team would love to have him. He's just not a super great player, not close to it. And he doesn't have the effect on his teams. It's not an accident. None of his teams didn't get to the finals with the LA Clippers. They were ultra talented. Things went wrong, as I said, when he went to Houston and rejoined James Harden. Everything was set up for him to succeed. Jason Kidd is was much better point guard than a Chris Paul. That's the point I'm trying to make. I don't think it's close between the two. I mean, is Chris Paul very good? Yeah. But if I could get a young version of Chris Paul who's 25 years old and I can flip him, let's say with the Knicks for Jalen Brunson, I wouldn't flip him. I'd say keep Chris Paul. But you give me Isaiah Thomas for the Knicks at age 25, I'd grab Isaiah and say goodbye to Jalen Brunson. If I get Jason Kidd at his best, I take Jason Kidd and say goodbye to Jalen Brunson. But I don't do that with Chris Paul.
Chris Paul is a better defender than Jalen Brunson in his prime. Jalen Brunson's a liability on defense. He can score. He can light you up with the best of them, but he's definitely a liability.
Chris Paul can't carry a team. That's the point I'm trying to make. He's not a difference maker carrying a team. Isaiah Thomas could carry the Pistons when they needed to be carried. Chris Paul never was able to carry his team.
I don't agree with that. I don't think.
I see he's using Isaiah Thomas against you. That's what he's doing.
Yeah, well, no, Isaiah was a great player. No, Isaiah.
He was a great player. I'm not going to take anything away from him.
I'm using him as an example because he was great. Guys like, Isaiah was in the league of a Magic Johnson. Maybe Magic Johnson was a little better, but he's in that class. He can get in the same car as Magic Johnson as a point guard. Chris Paul would have to wait and call up to get an Uber, rather than to ride with those guys.
I mean, if you're going to include Chris Paul in the mix, and you just included a team like Isaiah, that Pistons team from top to bottom was incredible. That was a really great team, and including the coach, Chuck Daly. I would take Chuck Daly over Doc Rivers any day. You can't tell me. Come on.
I got a better one for you. I'm sorry I cut in on you there. I couldn't resist. You flip-flop. Put Chris Paul in Isaiah Thomas's place. Take Isaiah off the bad boys and put in Chris Paul. They don't win a championship, let alone the two they won and the three they should have had.
I disagree with that. But at the same time, we're talking about what ifs. We don't know. That can't even happen. I mean, unless you got a DeLorean, we can go back in the past and do that. We can't do that. So I would say I'm not in what ifs. I'm about what happened. I'm going to tell you that Chris Paul, again, he played great for what he had. And now, again, I'm not giving him a pass. He had some whiffs on just like, but I don't think he's overrated. I disagree with that.
Brian on the spot because Brian is as familiar with Isaiah Thomas as anyone, obviously being from Detroit. You put Isaiah on Chris Paul's team instead of Chris Paul, I think they win a championship at some point if you flip-flopped and put Isaiah on instead.
I'm sorry, Jack. I gotta side with James on this. It's a woulda, shoulda, coulda thing. I don't know if that would happen or not. I think Isaiah was an integral part of the Pistons in general. If you're asking me point blank, I would say no. I don't think Chris Paul would help them win a championship. I think he's not the point guard that Isaiah was to that team.
Do you agree with me? Wait, do you agree with me?
But at the same time, I'm not agreeing with you because they can't really, like James said, you can't go back in the DeLorean and put that spot in there. Both of them are intricate to the teams that they've been on, per whatever era they played in. Chris Paul, this was one of those players that fell short. It's kind of like, do you think Charles Barkley is overrated? I mean, if you're going by players that are that haven't won a championship, and are that been with their teams for a long period of time. I mean, there's a handful of them, but do they really deserve the fact? Are we going by championships?
No. I'm against this ring business. But Chris Paul was on the teams that should have won. Okay. They didn't meet expectations. That's the difference. You mentioned Charles Barkley. Barkley was on only one team that really should have, under normal conditions, won the NBA championship, his Phoenix Sun team, but they ran into Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. I don't hold it against Phoenix. I mean, they had such a mountain to climb. But Chris Paul, if you look at his teams, did they underachieve because Doc Rivers was the coach with the Clippers during the time with all the talent? Maybe. But what happened at all his other stops? That's what I want to know. I mean, he came short. His other stops, they couldn't get over the top. It always ended in disappointment. And at some point, a great player takes charge and he elevates his team a little bit. Chris Paul never elevated his team. Would I vote for Chris Paul to be a Hall of Fame if I got a ballot? Odds are that I would. Yeah, I would check off his name, I'm sure, at some point as a Hall of Fame, and maybe as a first ballot one, depending who else was on the ballot. That's not the argument whether he belongs in the Hall of Fame. I'll agree, yeah, he does. I just don't think he's an impact Hall of Famer, like the other, like just about every Hall of Famer would be. Paul George, I agree with you, is not an impact Hall of Famer, probably gets in at some point. But Paul George isn't considered a great player as far as the elite players go in the NBA. Chris Paul had achieved that status in people's minds as one of the elite NBA players, the short list of best players. And I think he's overrated from that perspective.
Okay.
All right, next question. Will OKC win more than one NBA championship in the next 5 years?
Yes. I'm going to emphatically, undeniably just say yes, they will, because they are homegrown. They have 3 different players on the team that remind me this way this setup is going, even though one of them was traded over early on when he was a rookie. 3 players, Shea Gildress, Alexander, Jalen Williams, and Chet Holmgren, they make up a nucleus. And they got good coaching. They got some good role players. And the West seems to be dwindling, getting a little bit older. I like the youth movement coming in here in OKC. It's a small market, but they're still good. I mean, they had challenges. They had some challenges throughout the playoffs, but they can figure that out. A good team like this that's young, you build upon what you have. So 5 years is enough time to say that we got these players here. We want to try to get them before we get to that second and third apron, because obviously you done paid a couple players already max contracts. So they have the pressure on them is to win another championship. And I think they can make it. I think Shea Gildress is just one of the smoothest, he's a leader of his team as well. He's a leader. You can tell he's a leader of men, and he's an excellent player. But again, because the dynamic is shifting in the West, I could see them getting to a championship, and they have an opportunity to get there this year to go back to back. Because let's just say they get there, who are they going to meet up in the East? I don't see anybody challenging them in the East. No team. Boston would have been the team had they had their players, but obviously they're not going to have much of anybody. They traded a couple of their players. They're going to be losing Al Horford. He's long in the tooth anyway. And Drew Holiday's gone. You got a few other teams there. You got Cleveland. You got New York. You got Orlando and Milwaukee potentially. But not with this team. Not against Oklahoma City. I just think that Oklahoma City has the dynamic and the formula right now and the youth to be able to win another championship.
I don't think James read the fine print. Will OKC win more than one NBA championship in the next 5 years? Not one, but that means they'd have to win 2 NBA championships going forward in the next 5 years.
Let me stop you right there. Let me stop you right there. I'm thinking you mean you're including the last one they just won. So So
Oh, no, no,
now,
no, no. Going forward. I'm sorry about that. So let's clarify it. So maybe opinion's going to change. From this point on, the next 5 years, okay, I'll take the blame on that. The question wasn't presented as clearly as it should have. Now I could see how that could be misunderstood, so that's on me. But let's forget the one they won. The next upcoming 5 years, can they win? Will they win 2 NBA championships at least? Because that would kind of start classifying them as a mini dynasty or team to remember. You know, you need more than two in that sense. And they have one already. Next 5 years upcoming, do they win more than one NBA championship in the next 5 years? And if they're
and on top of
dynasty,
everything that
I
I've
mean, then
said,
the
since you
answer would be yes.
so said you said that, on top of everything I said, I still would say yes. There's a potential they can win too.
Of
Just
course, they
how.
got the potential, James. Don't talk to me about potential.
Okay.
You know,
No. That's I said yes. I
you
said
said yes.
yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. I go the opposite way. The answer is no. The NBA is too competitive. OKC is not a powerhouse team. I mean, come on. I mean, I don't know whether you agree with me or not with Chet Holmgren. I thought he was a potential star, impact player. You told me early in the year you didn't think he was. Then you thought maybe he could be. I'm on the same. My position's the same with you. He'd have to improve a lot. The potential is there for him to improve a lot. He's a heck of a good player now. He's young, so we tend to anticipate improvement in all young players. But that doesn't always turn out to be the case. Just because they're young, certain of these guys, they peak in their early 20s. And in reality, they never get better. If anything, they get like a little worse. I mean, you look at Kawhi Leonard. We thought by now he'd be maybe the ultimate superstar in the NBA, and he leveled out, completely for the most part. He's still pretty darn good. But with OKC, I just see too much competitiveness in the NBA, and I don't see them as being a powerhouse team. They were in one last year. They won, 64 games, great regular season. But the Cavaliers also had a great regular season. OKC struggled in the playoffs a bit. I mean, they just barely got by a Denver Nugget team that was through the meat grinder during the year, losing their coach. They had so many mixed emotions. Yet OKC could just barely get by them. They barely got by an Indiana Pacer team, which in reality wasn't a strong finals team. When you look at it, the Pacers were playing well. Don't get me wrong. But if you look at all the teams that normally get to the NBA Finals, it's not like they beat like a powerful team in the Pacers. Yet they were taking 7 games to the ultimate game before winning the title. I just feel too much is going on in the NBA now, where there's going to be at least one team that's going to emerge outside of OKC that's going to be really darn strong. I don't know who it'll be. Maybe Denver's going to rebound this year and eliminate them. Maybe the Timberwolves finally take the next step. Maybe the Lakers still got something left. And maybe Luka has the season of his life. Maybe the Clippers, who I mentioned before, who've made moves, and they have James's favorite player, Chris Paul, on there. I couldn't resist giving James a cheap shot there. Maybe the Clippers do something, and then there's the East. I mean, they can win another NBA title next year, OKC, but I don't see them going on a run the next 5 years, because to win more than one title, you have to kind of be a dominant team, and then a heck of a good team, OKC, but they're not a dominant team. They're not going to assert dominance over the rest of the NBA to win a couple of more titles in the next 5 years, in my view.
I don't know. I like OKC because they're a great defensive team as well. That adds to a formula. I mean, you can go back to the Bad Boys. You can go back to Chicago in the '90s. Those are great defensive teams. They kind of give me a mixture of both. They give me a mixture of that I wouldn't say bad boys, but some of the '90s defense. And then also, to me, who they really remind me of? They remind me of the Golden State Warriors in their prime. I mean, three young players: Draymond Green, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson. Dude, homegrown players right there. I mean, then coaching matters. I think who they have there right now is really good for OKC, and that I think the time, if they're going to capitalize, it's got to be now because everything I heard from you is maybe. I think it's maybe teams are going to maybe this, maybe that. I don't see a lot of teams improving. First of all, there's a lot of age going around. I mean, Houston has Kevin Durant. He's old. Golden State has a few players there. They're old. And LeBron James, as much as I love LeBron James, he's my favorite all-time player. He's old. He's old. And Luka, he lost the weight. He looks better, but we got to see how that plays out. I mean, we don't know for sure. I can only go off what OKC has given me, and I think as much as you don't give credit to Indiana, I think they were a very underrated team. I said that in the beginning of the playoffs. After I was seeing them, I think that they made a run because they were a really good team. They weren't. I mean, they made a run not just from the playoffs, from January. They were the second best team next to OKC, and they proved it. Both teams proved out to be the better teams in each conference, and so that's the disservice to OKC in saying that they had to go toe to toe with the best team in the East and barely beat them. Unfortunately, maybe an Achilles the way of possibly losing because the other team was just as good. So I would say OKC has a very strong potential to win multiple championships within the next 5 years because there's nobody else that seems to have done anything to counter what this team is doing right now. To me, they're a young Golden State. And they're set their prime to go ahead and win championships, unless some other team comes. I mean, maybe in Indiana, but they lost Miles Turner.
We could go back and forth with it, but it doesn't mean that OKC is not going to win another championship. My guess is, yeah, maybe they don't win it this year, but they win it next year. They're certainly young enough, but to win 2 more NBA championships, I think. It's so competitive, the NBA, it's going to be really hard unless you have dominant type players. And you could call SGA a dominant player. Holmgren isn't that yet. Jalen Williams isn't that. You know, it doesn't mean those guys aren't darn good. They're not dominant. SGA, you could put on the short list of dominant players.
Yeah, I have to agree with the fact that winning one championship would be possible for OKC in the next 5 years. 2, it's a little shaky. I think you're right. I think the NBA is constantly changing. So, I mean, it's hard to say. It's not the 80s. It's not the 90s anymore. We don't really have one guy that's dominant that will take a team. And like James says, LeBron is getting older. So that's going to figuratively be kaput pretty soon. So, I mean – yeah, maybe 1. I just can't see 2. I can't see more than 2. I can't see more than 1 in that frame. Yeah, health is the other part of that equation as well.
Just to close the topic, Rick makes a great point. Think about 1 year ago after the Celtics won the NBA title. We thought they were an absolute lock to go to the finals at the very least. A lock. Come on, no one's challenging them in the East. Get out of here. And look what happened.
So the next question is I think this is kind of targeted at James, but we'll see.
Oh,
Better player in their prime, Kevin Durant or Steph Curry?
Yeah, I don't know what James is going to say. I'm kind of curious here what he has to say. Go ahead, James.
You can flip a coin. But you know what? Do you guys want me to go first?
I could go first, okay?
Okay.
If you want, okay? Because when it's a coin flip, you're still battling in your mind here, which is okay. I used to think it was Kevin Durant. I bought into all that, but now as I don't want to say at the tail end of their careers, they're older players. Steph has a lot left in the tank. And the Houston Rockets obviously feel Kevin Durant has a lot left. Otherwise, they wouldn't have made the big deal, to get him to come over to Houston. But I always used to believe it was Kevin Durant. And then when they were Golden State, sometimes you get to see two products side by side. And I came to the conclusion Kevin Durant was the better player when he left Golden State. Well, he got 2 Finals MVPs. But it's become apparent. Kevin Durant is the Academy Award-winning actor, and I mean this in a positive way. I'm not putting him down. Believe me, he's a great player. And Steph Curry is the Academy Award-winning director. As soon as they get done making their movie, they go their separate ways. And Steph Curry would continue to direct Academy Award-winning pictures, and Kevin Durant would go movie to movie with mixed success. And it's become apparent to me now, Steph Curry is the better player, than Kevin Durant. I'd rather have him on my team prime for prime than Kevin Durant. Now, this isn't to say that Kevin Durant can't do a couple of more things on the court, perhaps with his, wing length and the whole bit. But Steph Curry is the ultimate team player. He put his ego aside. It's like he couldn't care less that Kevin Durant was the MVP. He put him in that position to succeed. And look what Kevin Durant, what's he been at all the other places he's been to? When he was with OKC, we weren't sure who was better, him or Russell Westbrook. That's a travesty now. It's obviously Durant is a better player than Westbrook ever was. But at the time, we didn't know. They were constantly fumbling. He comes to Brooklyn, and Kevin Durant puts himself under the leadership of Kyrie Irving, another travesty. Then Kevin Durant goes to Phoenix. They can't even make the play-in. I mean, come on, give me a break. I know we talk hypotheticals, Brian's going to say, but if Steph was with Phoenix, they would have been in the playoffs. I'm not saying they would have won it, but they weren't going to miss the play-in. And he goes to Golden State. He joined the team, Kevin Durant, that set an NBA regular season record of 72 wins and lost in 7 games in the finals. So how much is he elevating that team? Yeah, he was a missing piece. He helped them. They won a couple of championships in a row with Durant there, went to a finals. But guess what? When Durant left, they won another NBA championship under Steph Curry. And look what Durant's done. Look, Durant's a great player. Durant is a great player. I can't stress the word great enough. But Steph is a little better. I'd rather have Steph on my team. I'm more likely to win with Steph Curry than I am with Kevin Durant. And so I'm going to put their individual talents to the side. Steph Curry would be the better fit, I think, for any NBA team than Kevin Durant would. And it's no insult to Kevin Durant, who is a great player. And I think we're going to see it play out with Houston this year. He's not going to be the awesome difference maker, for the Rockets that they think he's going to be, like the missing piece. But if Kevin Durant can push Houston over the top and they win an NBA championship this year in large part because of Kevin Durant, then I'll maybe revise my opinion.
I see your points because Steph Curry, again, like I said, this is a coin flip. Steph Curry is one of the all-time greats. Obviously, he's got 4 championships. One of the probably, if not the greatest shooter of the 3-point I've ever seen with my own eyes in the game I've been able to watch. And he's an orchestrator of their offense. I mean, this guy would run around and had relentless energy to keep and just shoot from anywhere on the floor and just fall. That made it seem like he was throwing a basketball into an ocean. But that said, better player in their prime, I'm taking Kevin Durant, without a doubt. I mean, unfortunately, physical gifts matter. And you look at someone that's 6'10" with a 7-foot wingspan, no one can stop that. no one could really stop that at all. When they were when he was with, of course, I'm a LeBron James fan, but watching them come up and go to the finals was incredible at OKC. We're talking about Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Kevin Durant. Can you imagine if they kept that team together? I know there was issues between him and Westbrook, but all three of those guys were super talented, and by all intents and purposes, all the likelihood they will all be Hall of Famers, and they all went their separate ways. I think the biggest downfall for Kevin Durant is that's going to always come back and haunt him is being up against Golden State 3-1 and losing that in the Western Conference Finals, and they were able to surpass them and get to the championship and win. Was that the? Oh yeah, that was the 73 win team by Golden State that year, and Oklahoma City had that team down 3-1, and they came back and won. So I would have to say yes, Steph Curry is resilient, but I mean, look who was on his team. It was, and when that Westbrook and Kevin Durant were the only players there, and they were 3-1 because of Kevin Durant. And when Kevin Durant went and played with Golden State, he was the final MVP for both series he won a championship there.
But Steph Curry had no ego. He didn't care. He said you could be MVP.
You didn't ask about ego. You said better player in their prime. That's what you asked. You didn't have. I mean, you have to lose ego to go play with them after you just lost to this team. I'm pretty sure he didn't have an ego either.
Jaylen Brown won the MVP over Jason Tatum a year ago. We all know Jason Tatum is a better player.
But Jaylen Brown deserved the MVP. But I'm not gonna. But Kevin Durant was definitely the better scorer. I mean, the scorer, a better player that year against everybody. But he definitely deserved when he got the MVPs of those things. He was playing with limited shots. He was so good. Draymond was even jealous of him. I mean, and obviously they got into a fuss about who's coming up with the ball or not. But they clearly knew who should be handling the ball. The better player, the best player on that team was Kevin Durant, not Steph Curry. He was a better shooter, but I mean, Kevin Durant was the man on that team. And so I would say in their prime, I'm going to choose Kevin Durant because of what he was able to do physically, and that's the only edge I have. I mean, again, we're picking at hairs here. We're talking about 1A, 1B here. So I mean, Steph Curry, I'm not taking anything away from him. I think he should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's got 4 championships, and this is a guy, he revolutionized the game. I don't know if we revolutionized it in a good way, but definitely changed the game and how it's played. But I got Kevin Durant.
I'm going to add to that. Jack, I love your Academy Award reference there, because I would say that Kevin Durant is the winner for the best supporting actor, and Stephen Curry is the Academy Award winner for best pitcher. Because let me tell you something, I evaluate it like this: in their prime, Kevin Durant got on Golden State. To say he was an added piece, okay, they won a couple of championships with him, but what did Stephen Curry do before and after Durant was there? He still won championships. That's the difference that I'm thinking between the two as far as their careers are concerned, or who was in their prime. Because Stephen Curry could still win without Durant. Yes, he had Draymond. Yes, he had Thompson. But, I mean, the dude was a team player, like Jack said, and he didn't really care about all the accolades and stuff like that. He was there to win. He has fun with the game. That's one thing about Curry that a lot of people don't kind of overlook about him. He has fun. He has fun playing basketball. One of the few players I see in basketball that actually has an enjoyable time playing basketball. And, I mean, the does all kinds of trick shots from the corner, and that's cute. And those are actually wild plays to me, but at the same time, that's not something he'd be doing in the game, obviously. But it's just he just has fun with the game. Durant, to me, like he's going through. When you see him play, it's like he's excels at his job because he has the physical tools to do so. But I don't think that he has as much fun. Thus, the whole 3-1 incident when they were up on Golden State before, and he says, you know what, if you can't beat them, join them kind of mentality, and that's kind of, to me, that's, I don't want to say nothing about Kevin Durant as a person, but that's kind of a defeatist theory to me, because if Jordan was in times when he would play the Pistons, and the Pistons would kill his teams or beat it, even though he might score 50 points. But he kept on that team until they won. And then when they won, it was like, hey, see, I got y'all. So it's the kind of same mentality I wish Kevin Durant, because I love Kevin Durant too. I think he's one of the better players in the NBA. But when he did that, I was kind of like, dude, that don't look good, man. You need to stay with your team and work it out. I don't care what kind of problems you have with Westbrook. You need to work that stuff out because you have a good team. You went up 3-1 on Golden State, who was a dominating team at that time. So, I mean, dude, don't give up on your team. That's a defeatist attitude toward, and then you want to go to a team that you lost to. Yeah, you got 2 championships with them. But, I mean, that's the only thing I think that separates him from Curry. And I get what James is saying, 1A, 1B. But yeah, I would put Curry as 1A and Durant as 1B. That's the only thing I see different. But anyway, next, let's see. Okay, here we go. Some football. Tyreek Hill has challenged Noah Niles to a race. Should we take his chances of winning seriously?
No. Tyreek Hill could have been a legitimate world-class sprinter had he not played football. Now, I know you're running fast in football. You're constantly sprinting, but you're not quite practicing the same way. And Tyreek, we had DK Metcalf. He ran a legitimate 100-meter race against sprinters, legitimate world-class sprinters, and he came in last place. He didn't do badly, DK Metcalf. He ran a 10.37, which, put him far behind the leader, but he didn't disgrace himself. Tyreek Hill did a little better. I think he ran something like a 10.14, a little over 10 seconds, which indicates to me if Tyreek Hill quit football and just concentrated on sprinting, he might go under 10 seconds. He might do a 9.9 something. That doesn't get it done in this day and age. I mean, can he beat Noah Lyles if Noah Lyles has a bad day? If Noah Lyles' D game shows up, we grade the A, B, C, D, and Tyreek Hill runs his A game, Tyreek Hill could conceivably upset him, but it's not going to happen. But the best Tyreek Hill could hope for in a 100-meter race is not to get smoked, to just be competitive and not lose that badly. That's why Tyreek Hill is trying to change the equation. He was calling for a 50-yard race, first of all. Noah Lyles would probably beat him in a 50-yard race, edge him out, but at least it would be competitive. It would be very close. And Tyreek Hill might have a chance to actually win because he's used to running on a football field. He has certain instincts. That's his territory. And then they were talking about running 100 yards down Times Square in concrete. Yeah, I don't know what could happen in concrete. I would be scared to run on that at that speed, on concrete. But, Tyreek Hill this isn't a joke. Tyreek Hill has a slim chance of upsetting Noah Lyles, but I would put it at like 5% out of 100% where he would actually beat him. But I wouldn't take it overly seriously, Noah Lyles' chances, even though I wouldn't completely discount them, I wouldn't take them seriously either.
Tyreek Hill has always had world class track speed. Now, is it the best track speed in the world? Probably not, but he could still run with, I mean, in regards to football players, let's just go back all the way back to the 80s when they had the fastest man in the NFL, when they guys like Herschel Walker, Darrell Green, Rod Woodson would challenge each other for races. And you see these guys out there, and they legit, Herschel Walker was a blazer. People wouldn't even believe that. You could see it. And of course, Darrell Green was the fastest man in football. Tyreek Hill would legitimately challenge most of the players in the NFL and beat them. So to say that he couldn't challenge the fastest guy in the world in Noah Lyles, I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends. Like Rick said, is it do it in a 40? Because I mean, obviously he's not a track star. He's not out there. These guys understand leverage. They understand wind. They understand position. And they understand how to get out of the gates. When you mentioned DK Metcalf, DK Metcalf, when he was running, it was just full on Hulkamaniac, just running down the field. And he's fast, but he had no form, no nothing. It was just out there doing whatever. I think had he understood how to run and how to race, and when you see and just keep his head down when he's running out the gate, I think he might have had a chance to take somebody out because DK Metcalf is fast. He's super fast. But so is Tyreek Hill. I think if he took this seriously to be able to do it in a manner like, okay, if you're going to challenge him, then you need to understand. I think Tyreek Hill does understand track. I think he ran track, I believe. He understands how to do these things. So he could actually give him a run. But look, I mean, this is a question. Had this guy been had this question been asked 5 years ago, then I might give him a chance. It's just hard. I can't debate that. It's hard because what is he, 31 now? 30, 31?
Yeah, it's older. I mean, he's been playing football, so he's been sprinting. So he's been in informal training. In that sense, there was a football player, Bullet Bob Hayes, who played for the Cowboys. He was an Olympic sprint champion, but then he played football after. And listen, Tyreek Hill, is he even the fastest guy in the NFL right now? I mean, I'm not certain about that.
It's a good question. I'm not sure. I mean, obviously, the kid in Kansas City would definitely try to give him a run for his money.
Rasheed Rice?
The one who was drafted last year. Yeah, Worthy.
Yeah. Xavier Leggett.
No. Xavier Worthy. He's right. The guy in Kansas City. Yeah.
Let me just put this caveat in there. Noah Lyles has broken 22nd records for the 200 meter 41 times without wind assistant, more than any other athlete. He ain't got no chance of beating Tyreek. I mean, Tyreek has no chance of beating him. I'm sorry. I mean, it can make it competitive. I'm not saying it can't be competitive because Tyreek got wheels on him. But you're right. Tyreek is 31. Noah Lyles is 28. And he does this for a living. And he's probably one of the best track field stars out there right now. So I even at 50 at a 50 meter race, I don't think he's not. Nope, ain't happening. He can challenge him.
Let's put our time towards the next question. That was just a hard one. Let's go towards the next question.
All right. So, do you think that Brian Flores' discrimination case against the NFL has merit?
Well,
Jack, I'll let you go first.
I noticed Brian leaves the controversial question at the end, like sweep it under the rug. First off, let me state, I like Brian Flores a lot as a coach. I liked him when he was the Dolphin coach. And when he got fired, I was kind of stunned about it because I thought there's a darn good coach that should easily get a job elsewhere. He did a good job with the Dolphins. But then you learn a little more about Brian Flores' character after. So a lot of the sympathy I had for Brian Flores started to disappear when I realized this was a guy that would fire his assistant coaches. He was cutthroat in a sense that he would move on from people. And then you got Tua later on saying, and Tua seems, Tagliavoa Tua seems like a good guy. And when he comes forward and says Brian Flores is a lousy human being, and that's the only guy Tua's ever knocked. That's the only bad, negative thing Tua's ever said about anyone in reality. He knocks him. And then Brian Flores, his dream job, he was from Brooklyn, was to be the Giant head coach. And he interviewed for him. And keep this in mind, the Giants have never hired a black coach. That's an issue with me that, it kind of bothers me there. But this may have been the perfect time for the Giants to finally hire a black head coach and one who would be the best candidate, the most worthy candidate for the job. That's the most important thing. So it would have been win-win all around. But I understand they hired their GM, Joe Shine, who is buddies with Brian DeBal from Buffalo. So a GM wants his own guy. I can understand that. So they hired Brian DeBal. So now Brian Flores is going ballistic. He's accusing the owner of the Dolphins with tanking and this and that. Serious accusations. Wow. Now he has the discrimination suit over not getting the Giant head coach job. That wasn't why he didn't get the job. I admit I'm sympathetic towards Brian Flores when he interviewed for the Denver Bronco job. That was an affirmative action thing. They came there with no interest to sign him. They looked bored. John Elway seemed like he was disheveled, according to Brian Flores. I'm on board with Brian Flores there. That was demeaning to him. But you're stewing everyone left and right because you're not getting a head coaching job. I would be leery of hiring you now. He has a good job with the Vikings. He's a defensive coordinator. It's not the ultimate job. It's not being a head coach. But he did get hired first by Mike Tomlin at Pittsburgh. Now he transitioned to a defensive coordinator. And where's the discrimination here? I mean, I don't get it here. So do I think he has a discrimination case? Does it have merit? I'll let James talk. From my perspective, no, he doesn't there. I hope he gets a head coaching job at some point somewhere, but no, I don't think this case has merit. James, can't hear you.
Sorry, I don't think there was race involved with Miami. I just think there was just some pretty bad stuff, that allegations, because some things true to be true. And they got fined. And we're talking about the tampering with Tom Brady, Sean Payton. We're talking about the $100,000 offered per game to tank the games. All this came out to be true. So they got some things taken away from them. So, but did that have anything to do with race? No, I don't think it had anything to do with race. Now, going back to the Giants, Bill Belichick, I think it's a good old boy system here. How does Bill Belichick know that he's alleging that Bill Belichick texted him accidentally when he was supposed to text Brian Daboll, congratulating him on the job before he got the interview, before Brian Flores got the interview with the Giants? So how does Bill Belichick know that? So to me, there's a whole system, because this ultimately, what they're telling you is that the Rooney Rule is just put in place to interview. You have, those of you don't know, the Rooney Rule is in place to interview two minorities. Each team is required to interview two minorities per year, or whenever they're going to interview. So he was up for the job, and he's thinking that he has a job. He goes there and finds out later, and Brian Belichick has apologized and tell him he made a mistake. And he said he was hurt from that. And, because he thought he had an opportunity. Like you said, he wanted to go back there, coach that team. And that didn't happen because ultimately the Giants were just doing their due diligence as well with the Rooney Rule. The same as the Broncos. He said like the shovel. He mentioned more than the shovel. He said he thinks some guys were drinking the night before and they came back with the Broncos, and so that's not professional, of course. But I mean, I don't know. And again, I don't know if that I can't prove race on that. But what I can give you, or like you said, I'm an analytical guy in regard to numbers. This it has merit because optically, this is a black coach going through this type of thing. And also, with that said, you have from 2000. I looked at the numbers. 2000 to 24, 31 of 173 potential coaches were black. That was 18%. And 8 of 19 that got fired after the first year were black. So that might not seem like, and 42%, that might not seem like a big number, but it's a huge number when 2000 to 2024, that a game that has 70% black people playing the game, that they can't transition to be coaches in the league. To me, that's kind of what it is, because optically you say, okay, you're seeing black coaches here and there, but the numbers don't add up. The numbers don't add up at all, because you're still not getting the game. And the Rooney Rule is just saying, okay, we're just doing our due diligence. We know we want our guy, but it may not be you. We're just going to hire you. I mean, we're going to interview you, but you're not going to get the job. And so to me, again, going with Bill Belichick, that situation scares me, because, again, he has nothing to do with this organization besides being in the past a defensive coordinator. And he knows this already. He knows Brian Daboll is getting the job before and congratulating him before an interview even happens for the other player. That's alarming. And so to me, this is where it has merit. That situation right there, those two facts makes Brian's case merit. Whether he's a bad guy or not with Tua and all this and that don't even matter.
Well, you left out one thing. Brian Flores worked as a coach under Bill Belichick at New England.
Right, so they must be friends.
An excellent relationship.
Right.
And for him to proceed and put Bill Belichick in the spot, considering how nice Bill Belichick has been to him over the years, could then bring up the Tua thing. This isn't a good guy if he was going to go ahead and do that. Listen, bottom line is this. Jim Jeffcoat used to say this on the show. I know we're running out of time. Owners can hire who they want. It can't get forced on them at the time. But certain things disturb me, like Jerry Jones never seriously considering someone a minority for head coaching job. The same thing with the Giants, their history. It kind of strikes you the wrong way after a while. Robert Kraft moving on from Gerard Mayo after 1 year. I understand that. It was a chance to get Mike Grable. That's a football decision, 100%. So I don't want to hear, oh, how can you do it after 1 year? It's like a cut your losses type situation. But a couple of organizations, the Cowboys and the Giants, their attitude towards black candidates, it strikes me the wrong way.
Yeah, I think until we as a people can look at people for their resumes and what they do instead of the color of their skin, this is going to be a constant controversy all the time. This is reason why DEI was formed. This is why the Rooney Rule was formed. These are things because you can't trust human beings to make conscious decisions about stuff because they see color. They don't see. We could go Martin Luther King all we want on this whole situation, but it is what it is. And if he feels he has a legitimate discrimination case against the NFL, hell, let him pursue it, because what else is he going to do? He was a pretty good coach at Miami, but at the same time, you can look at it and say, well, maybe he wasn't the greatest head coach. Maybe he's just good as a defensive coordinator, as we've seen some other head coaches in the NFL do, fail and fall on their face and just be better as a defensive coach. You know what I'm saying? Or an offensive coach, whatever. So, it is what it is.
He had two. Let me say, I know we got to go. He had 2 back-to-back winning seasons. Miami hadn't had that since 2003. He got that in 2020 and 2021. And that's why I can see why it was surprising, but I know we got to go.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, thanks for being on. Jack, welcome back. We will see you tomorrow on the Sunday Morning Sports Show. Everybody have a great rest of your day.